Hey everyone, I just wanted to record a short before Thanksgiving message to go over a couple of things. I kind of spelled an outline of it before. Um, First off, I just finished grading all the PSA projects. You can go check those out on Canvas and see my comments on your essay, but also the rubric comments at the end there. I think they're pretty good. I thought it was a little bit of a mixed batch. I think some of you spent too much emphasis on describing the minutia details of the collaboration and of the PSA itself, which when really what I was asking for with the assignment, and I think this is clear in the assignment itself, but I was really asking for is for you to meditate more on what it meant to be writing with multimedia. In other words, what's the difference between writing words in a row essays like you do in most normal classes versus writing with video and audio and images and all that kind of stuff. What's similar about it? What's different about it? What's similar and different about the collaborative process, right? In other words, what were some of the strengths of the collaborative process, what were the weaknesses, and so forth. A lot of you just spent a lot of time talking about very, very specific sorts of things like we did this and she did that and those kinds of things. And that got away a little bit from the assignment because you got to remember the reason I asked you to do the readings for the class that are about these topics, in this case, multimedia, is because I want you to include connections to those readings in your essays, right? So that was part of what I was looking for. I was looking for analysis about the writing process and connections back to the readings. A lot of you also have some kind of, frankly, pretty basic problems with MLA style and how to incorporate sources. So I mentioned that a couple different places, and I'm happy to talk with you individually about that. But honestly, it's the kind of thing that in a 300 level writing class, I don't think that I should be covering because you should probably have that under control. Okay. Now, onto the AI project essay. I've been really enjoying looking at the examples of stuff that people have come up with GPT-3 and DALL-E. I think it's really interesting in terms of the different ways that people have been able to maneuver and work with this. But remember, not unlike the PSA project, you don't want to spend too much time in your essay dwelling on specifically what you did with GPT-3 and DALL-E to make your work. I mean, you want to talk about that a little bit, but what you really want to focus on is some of the issues that we've been talking about in these discussions, the larger issues and the ones that connect also back to the readings. For example, the issues of the ethical issues of this being cheating or just using another tool like a spell check or Photoshop or something to make a piece of writing. How this kind of like problematizes our notions of what's original, what's creative, what's plagiarizing, all those kinds of things like that. How do your experiences with the experiment of playing with GPT-3 and DALL-E, along with the readings that we've completed about these things, how do these things kind of come together, and how can you write about how can you write an essay that sort of unpacks all that? Okay. And again, like I said, you've got to actually do the reading too in order to make that happen. Peer review of this project will start on Monday, November 28th, and we'll wrap it up on November 30th, and it's due to me on December 5th, which is when we're rushing towards the end of the semester, okay? Last thing I want to talk about is revision, and here's the basic rules for this, and I've kind of like talked about around this a little bit before, and I think I've described even some of these rules a little bit earlier too. But now we're really heading into the time of the semester in which serious consideration of revision makes some sense, right? Because now you're going to have an idea of where you're at in terms of a grade and what needs to be done and all this other kind of stuff, okay? So the first thing is that you can revise any of the three major projects of the semester, the Venture and Technology project, the PSA project, or the AI writing project, or all three of them. Revising the last one's kind of tricky because I'm not going to even give you a grade on the AI project until basically the very, very end of the semester at the earliest, which means you don't really have a lot of time to revise that. But in theory, you could, okay? The grade can go up to 100%, but it cannot go down. So in other words, if you get a 75% C on a project and you revise it, even if you somehow manage to make the essay worse, which does happen, sometimes people don't do good revision, I'm not going to lower the grade. It can only go up. How high it goes up is really speaks to what you do with the revision. Practically speaking, though, it's easier to revise something from a C into a B than it is from a B until an A, just because you have less room to, maneuver and make changes to improve things. But it's possible. It's definitely possible to revise something from a B into an A. You get to revise it once, and I always point this out as someone who wears glasses. This is not a situation where, if you wear glasses, when they go to the optometrist and they say, "Is it better now? Is it better now?" and you keep flipping the little things that they do to test your eyesight. This is not a situation where you can keep flipping the little thing to keep improving it, right? You get one chance at revision, and that's it. And the revisions are due by the end of the time for the class. And I'm actually not going to probably look and grade the revisions until I'm getting into figuring out the final grades for the course as well. In order to revise, you must meet with me, okay? And you must meet with me to discuss what plans you have for your revision. In other words, it's not just a situation of like, well, I'm just going to fix what you tell me to fix. Well, no, I mean, you tell me how do you interpret some of the comments that you got from your peers? How do you interpret the comments that you got from me? And how are you going to put that into action into your essay, right? So we have to have this conversation where you tell me how it's going to go, and I'll work with you a little bit on that as well. We can meet face to face, or we can meet via Zoom. We can set up appointment times, and I'll start doing that after Thanksgiving break, and I'll be able to make times to make it work for everybody as far as a time to meet. The other thing too is that you want to be careful and think about what it is you're going to revise for the purposes of benefiting the grade. So this is what I mean by that. If the first two projects this semester were both 85% and 85% solid Bs, okay, to really improve the grade, you're going to either have to revise both of those projects, or it's probably not going to make much difference because you're not going to be able to gain enough points to get up to the next level of the grade. So for example, if you've got a C+ on one project and a B on the other project, it probably makes sense to revise that C+ project to bring it up into the B territory. That could make a difference for your grade. And so one of the things I'll do is I'll sit down with you and try to figure out and guesstimate some of the points to make sure that you're spending time on revision that is worth the effort, right? You can always revise things to make them better, just on a sort of matter of principle. But you want to revise things for the class in order to benefit your grade, because chances are you have other things to do than to just revise things for the sake of revising, if that makes sense. Everything will be due in terms of revisions and any other kind of outstanding work by December 14th at 5 p.m. So the last day of classes that we have is December 7th, last week, and the last day for the term is December 8th, December 9th, I believe. And December 9th is that Friday. And that last week of classes, as I think you can see from the schedule, is really just a matter of finishing stuff up. So there's not going to be a whole lot of other activities in there other than me talking to people about revisions and things like that. So there's not like a lot of stuff to turn in later than the AI writing project. So chances are we're only talking about the December 14th date if you have some kind of revision. But again, that's when I will figure out the final grade. So December 14th, 5 p.m., everything has to be due. And what I will probably do is actually calculate grades either that evening or the next day and be completely wrapped up by December 15th. You'll hear me talk later about the significance of this end time, because that's what everything has to be due no matter what. In other words, I cannot extend any other sort of deadlines or anything like that because I have to turn in grades. But like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I think that's it for now. Have a good Thanksgiving. And if you've got questions about any of the stuff I'm talking about here, by all means, send me an email or make a comment below. And otherwise, I'll see you online.